Hello and welcome to Get It Right. My name is Susan Mwangi, your host. Today we have Okuta Ngura, who is a vet technician and specializes in poultry farming. Okuta Ngura, thank you so much for coming here today. Start us off by letting us know what your background is.
I'm a vet technician by profession. I decided to venture in poultry industry because I saw a gap. There was a gap because most of us trained vets are into large animals. So the poultry industry is neglected. And as we know, most poultry farmers are small scale. So maybe it's not paying. That's why most vets go into large animals. So there are gaps like management, poultry management, feeding, vaccination, disease management, all that. So that's why I decided to reach to the farmers, mostly through social media. I write articles on social media just to pass information to the farmers.
And for how long have you been doing this, Okuta Ngura?
I started way back in the year 2015. So it's like almost 4 years, heading to 4 years.
And
yes.
For somebody who is looking at embarking on poultry venture, what are the first things that they must get ready? Where should the emphasis be?
The first thing is to look at the market dynamics, demand and supply. Know your target customers, because without a market, even if you do your poultry farming and you get the products, if you don't have the place to take to or the people to sell to, it will not be viable at all. Secondly, the farmer should have capital. And you know, poultry farming is a bit capital intensive. So capital is a very important thing to have. But before that, the farmer should should have a business plan. So the business plan is like a map that will reveal to the farmer the total amount of money that he needs to start the venture. After having the business plan, the next thing is enough capital, to prepare enough capital.
How much are we looking at for somebody who wants to do it and make profits out of it?
In the poultry industry, for the capital, because the biggest cost of production in the poultry industry is housing. And the housing, it's a one-off, but it's also the biggest cost. Secondly, it's feeding. In fact, feeding will be the biggest cost after the construction of the house. Feeding alone will take 70%. So if we are talking of layers, for you to rear the layer up to a point of lay, you need close to 500 to 600 Kenya shillings per bird.
First of all, before we even get to feeding,
yes.
You mentioned that the first thing that somebody should consider is the poultry structure. Maybe
Yes.
you can tell us or highlight some of the elements
Yes.
that the farmers need to put into perspective while putting up a poultry structure.
The poultry structure should be away from distractions, from human involvement. It helps the farmer with the biosecurity. By biosecurity, I mean all those factors that are undertaken to prevent disease entry. That will be the first thing. Second thing to consider will be the distance from the market, because you don't want to set up your poultry farm at a faraway place whereby it will be difficult to transport your products. When you are constructing the poultry house, we look at the things like drainage. You don't want to construct your poultry house where there is water logging, and when it rains, the water will flood the poultry house. It will affect the birds. Another thing, we look at wind direction when you are constructing your poultry house. If the wind is too strong, it distracts the birds and it causes stress. Another thing that we should look into, we construct the poultry house on an orientation that should be east-west. The longer sides should face east-west. This is to prevent direct contact with the sun.
Okay.
Yeah, because if the sun shines too strongly, it will increase the temperature of the poultry house, and this will affect the feeding of the birds.
So Okuta Ngura, let's discuss about the main housing system for birds.
We have different housing systems for birds. The first one is an intensive system. Second one, we have the semi-intensive system. And the third one, we have a free-range system. So those are the main rearing systems.
And what should the farmer consider before settling for a particular system?
The first thing is the affordability. That is the cost. Secondly, you should consider the production. How viable is it? Is it profitable? The third thing that you are going to consider is if is it labor intensive or not. So it should reduce labor.
In what terms should it reduce labor in this case?
Okay, you see things like administering feeds to the birds or water to the birds, egg collection, manure removal. So it should ease those processes.
The main adopted system that I have seen farmers use is the
Yes.
deep litter system, and then we have the battery caged system. Which
Yes.
among the two is efficient now when it comes to conservation of feeds and water?
Battery cage system is the most productive, or is the most viable among the two.
And how does it work?
Battery cage system is simply, it's made of columns, wires that have columns and rows to form something like a battery, like a cell. Each cell hosts up to 3 to 4 birds. And there's a watering system made of pipes, plastics, PVC, and there's also a feeding system beneath, and there's also egg collection system. So there's nowhere where the birds are exposed to their eggs.
So the battery cage system is primarily for the layers chicken.
Not only layers, but even broilers.
There are hundreds of chicken breeds. What should farmers consider before settling for a particular breed?
The first thing, you look at egg production. Secondly, you look at the meat, because the purposes is eggs and meat. You look at the faster growth. So it should mature very fast for you to slaughter. And you also look at the broodiness. It's like there are some birds which just brood on their eggs. So such birds will not give you high egg production.
In Kenya here, let's come back home. What are the most viable breeds when it comes to eggs production?
For egg production, we have hybrid layers. Hybrid layers give like 300 to 320 eggs per year. So it's the best for egg production. For meat production, we have broilers. Broilers are slaughtered at 5 to 6 weeks. And we also have improved kienyeji chicken or improved indigenous breeds. Those ones are slaughtered at 3 months.
Okay, 3 months. Then I'm thinking, isn't it challenging now when it comes to disposing?
What a farmer should do, you should have different batches. In such a way that every month you get to slaughter the birds. You keep them in 3 batches. You have in a situation like you have 1 month old birds, 2 months old birds, 3 months old birds. So you make sure that it's like a cycle. Every month you have birds to slaughter up to the 3rd month. So in a year you'll be keeping birds like up to 4 times in a year, but in a 3 month cycle. Yeah.
So Okuta Ngura, we've had so many farmers asking about this particular, the improved kienyeji.
Okay.
What is superior about it?
The improved kienyeji is superior than the indigenous one, because if you compare the 2 breeds, the indigenous one can lay from 60 to 100 eggs per year. Comparing it to the improved kienyeji, which gives you close to 200 to 250 eggs per year. So in terms of egg production, it's higher. In terms of meat production, the indigenous kienyeji will mature in 6 months, 6 to 7 months, and gives you, it attains a weight of 1.5 to 2 kg in 6 months, while the improved kienyeji will attain the same, the similar weight in 3 months only. So you see that improved kienyeji grows very fast, attains weight very fast, so the farmer gets more profit than indigenous kienyeji.
So is it true that it is also a very, it's a hardy breed? Like it's more resistant to diseases as compared to some other breeds?
Not exactly. What we know is that indigenous breeds are more resistant to diseases than the improved version. So for the improved version, what we have to do is we should put in plan serious biosecurity measures to avoid diseases.
Good. That's a good topic you've brought up about biosecurity measure. What
Yes.
does this entail?
Biosecurity measures are simply the measures that we undertake to prevent entry of disease-causing microorganisms in your poultry flock. Yes, and we have several. The first measure that we take is fencing off your farm. If you fence off your farm, you keep intruders away, because intruders also will also carry disease-causing organisms into your farm. You will also keep away predators from your farm. The second thing about the biosecurity is we wear protective clothing. The farmer should put in place, we should buy protective clothing. Things like gumboots, should have gumboots specifically for the poultry house. You should have overalls or apron for the poultry house, dust coats. The third thing about the biosecurity, we should have a foot dip at the entrance of the poultry house. The fourth thing is strict vaccination programs. The fifth thing is that we should properly dispose the carcasses. Once there's a disease outbreak, we dispose them off by burying or burning them, not throwing them out of the fence. And the other thing is we keep away people from your farm. Yes, because people will introduce the diseases to your poultry flock. Okay. Diseases are categorized depending on the causative organisms. We have viral diseases, bacterial diseases, protozoal diseases, fungal diseases, and diseases that have no unknown source. So if we start with the viral diseases, the most common ones in the poultry farming is the Newcastle. The second viral disease is infectious bursal disease, commonly known as Gumboro disease. The third viral disease is known as fowlpox. The fourth one is Marex. Those are the most common diseases in Kenya. And when we come to bacterial diseases, the first one we have Salmonella, which we call locally known as fall typhoid. We also have other diseases like egg peritonitis that affects layers. We have another disease we call necrotic enteritis. Those are the most common bacterial diseases. We also have other common diseases caused by protozoa. We have coccidiosis, which is very common and which causes high economic losses.
We will be taking a short break, but don't go too far. We will be back in a bit.